Greetings, I'm Jake, 38 years old. I dwell in a tranquil hamlet near Asheville, North Carolina, residing in a humble house I bought a decade ago. It's nothing fancy, just a comfortable home with a front porch, a backyard garden, and Duke, my dog, who growls at butterflies as if they were intruders. I live solo without a spouse or children. Perhaps I never found the right one. Yet, I've crafted a life that feels good to me. Professionally, I am a boxing coach. I've spent much of my adulthood in this role. Unlike major gym chains, I rent out a location downtown for my training sessions. My main emphasis is on tutoring children from age 10 up to 25. Some aim for professional careers, some need discipline, and others just desire an escape from home. No matter the reason, they receive all that I have. Boxing has been instrumental in saving my life, so I strive to share it with as many as possible. This autumn, I initiated a club for older teenagers. A teenager aged 17 to 19, I gathered 5 registrations within the first week. One of them was Evan, a reserved yet attentive individual, 18 years old. He carried a robust physique but seemed hesitant, which is common among his peers. However, he listened attentively, put in effort, and regularly attended sessions. All I asked for. Approximately 2 weeks into the training, I noticed he extended his stay post-class by a few minutes. He didn't chat much. Instead, he simply stretched and tarried. I assumed he was killing time before a lift arrived. I paid little attention to it. Then one day, during cleanup, Evan introduced me to his mom who had come to pick him up. I acknowledged her as usual, ready to offer a friendly coach's smile. But upon making eye contact with her, something shifted. She displayed an unusual expression in her eyes. It wasn't confusion or surprise. It was more of a recognition. Dear friends, please help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. A glance that suggested she was sifting through old memories trying to match what she saw. And it wasn't just her, I felt it too. As if a fragment of my past was attempting to emerge from the haze. She smiled gently, seemingly requiring a moment to convince herself of the truth. I introduced myself as Jake, and she didn't immediately shake hands. Instead, she gazed at me and questioned, "You don't recognize me?" My eyes blinked in puzzlement. While I usually fare well with faces, this one left me perplexed. She seemed recognizable. "Yes, but I can't quite place it," was my honest response. "You seem familiar," I added, voicing my feeling of knowing her from somewhere, yet unable to identify the location. She smiled once more softly this time. "You will remember me," she promised, "but I'll give you some time to ponder it." At that moment, Evan called out, "Mom, I'm in the car." She turned towards him before looking back at me and saying, "Nice to meet you again, Jake." Even though I hadn't remembered her yet, she departed towards the car, leaving me rooted in place, clutching my towel. The atmosphere within the gym seemed denser, as if something had stirred and left me uncertain. I observed her settling into the car with Evan, and as they receded, I perceived a faint tremor in my hand. Not due to fear or anxiety, but rather that peculiar sensation in your abdomen when the past seems to brush against you. That evening, sleep eluded me. My thoughts repeatedly circled back to her face, her eyes, her voice. From where did I recognize her? Why did I feel as if I had overlooked something significant? The solution was still unknown to me, but I felt a premonition that I would soon discover it. For the subsequent days, I endeavored to focus on my work and training. I was well acquainted with these routines, yet every pause between sessions, water bottle refill, or stroll to Duke prompted thoughts of her. That gaze. "You don't seem to recall me, do you? It wasn't a transient instance. It lingered heavily at the rear of your consciousness. 3 days after the conference, as I was locking up the gym in the night, Evan remained, punching the heavy bag beyond his usual routine. He appeared subdued, no reference to his mother or the events of the previous day. Perhaps he was unaware. Maybe he knew and chose to remain silent. Just as I completed my tasks, my phone died. An unknown number called. Yet, an inner voice urged me to answer. "Hello?" I uttered. A familiar voice responded gently yet firmly. "Hi, this is Melissa, Evan's mother." The name reverberated. Melissa. Memories flooded back in that instant, as if a light bulb had been switched on within my mind. We were schoolmates from middle school to senior year. She was the quiet girl sitting in the second row. I've always carried a sketchbook. Her hair was brown and tied up, her eyes large. She appeared to observe more than she verbally expressed. I recall her lingering post lessons, merely for company. Once, she slipped a note into my locker. I didn't respond immediately, not because I disfavored her, but rather due to my intense focus on football, track, and boxing at the time. "Melissa?" I said slowly. "Melissa Carter." She laughed. "You remember?" "Yes." "Incredible. I hadn't anticipated you recognizing me." After a pause, she remarked, "It's been over 20 years. I responded, acknowledging her observation. "You look different, yet familiar." "I concur." We both chuckled, and for a brief instant we seemed 16 once more, laughing outside the cafeteria. A short while later, she inquired, "Fancy reconnecting? I mean, genuinely? Simply chat? Maybe share a cup of coffee?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I replied. "That sounds great." We decided to meet at a nearby cafe situated just beyond the town limits. A place with a patio and peaceful spots was mentioned, which she seemed to like. It was off the beaten path and not overly crowded. We arranged it for Saturday afternoon. The weekend came sooner than expected. I felt a mix of apprehension, unlike pre-fight or major meeting jitters, more like adolescent nerves. My stomach knotted, palms sweated unnecessarily. Arriving early, I picked a spot towards the back. I frequently looked up whenever the door opened. Then I saw her, in pants and a simple blouse, with the same styled hair tied back, but now with a silver streak near the temple. She smiled at me. We greeted with a short hug. Nothing forced, just warm. We ordered coffee and sat down. The conversation flowed smoothly. She shared her story, how she got pregnant during her senior year. The guy's name was Sean. He left when she told him, claimed he wasn't ready. Then he completely disappeared from her life. She didn't receive any more messages from him. Her parents provided both support and discipline. She resided at home, juggling 2 jobs. Raising Evan alone, she never married. She dabbled in dating occasionally, but no relationships lasted. With work and child-rearing taking up most of her time, she seldom had moments for herself. She explained that she brought Evan to your gym because she wanted him exposed to genuine men, beyond just teaching him how to fight. This statement struck me. I asked about Evan's school performance. She confirmed he was intelligent but quiet, much like himself once was. As she talked about him, it was clear that he formed the core of her life. Later, she inquired about me. I told her the truth. I had never married either. My parents passed away a few years apart. I shared my commitment to dedicating all my resources to the gym. I added that it's not glamorous, but that's what I choose to dedicate myself to. She agreed and said something that caught me off guard. "You've always had that deep-seated resilience within you, that unwavering type of strength, even in high school." This left me speechless, as no one had ever spoken to me like that before, not with that sincere tone or honesty. We conversed for approximately 2 hours. Nothing felt contrived or awkward. We reminisced about old classmates, shared regrets, and even discussed the music we used to listen to. She reminded me of a time when I lent her my Walkman on the school bus, something I had long forgotten. But she remembered. She even recalled the Bon Jovi tune. After a minute outside as the cafe began to close, she pulled her hoodie closer. "It was good seeing you again," she said. "You haven't changed as much as you think." I replied, "Nor have you. You simply look more like your true self." This comment brought another genuine laugh from her. We didn't hug this time. It wasn't necessary. She proposed, "Feel free to contact me if you ever wish to chat again. My number is now available." I acknowledged, "I will," and meant it. She made her way to her car. I lingered for a moment longer, watching as her tail lights disappeared into the distance. That encounter stayed with me all night. The past had resurfaced in my life. It felt right. A week later, I messaged her again. A casual greeting. "Hi, I really enjoyed our conversation. Are you free this weekend?" She replied 10 minutes later. "I feel the same way. Let's do it. This Saturday." So, we met at the same cafe. On this occasion, she picked an indoor spot by the window. She seemed more relaxed than before. Her hair was loose and her makeup was subtle. She wore a navy sweater. Her eyes were warm. I remembered how easy it felt to sit opposite her again. We didn't rush into anything significant. We chatted about the week that had passed, the usual topics. I shared with her about a kid at the gym who broke his hand by punching incorrectly. For the first time in a while, that incident occurred. She chuckles and nods her head. "That's why I'm glad Evan is in your class," she confided. "I trust he's learning the right way." Then she paused, gazing out the window for a brief moment. That's when the discussion shifted. "You realize," she whispered softly, "I never thought I'd be a mother so young. I mean, I adored Evan from the instant I saw him. But it changed everything. My aspirations, my future. Everything flipped." I kept silent, allowing her to speak. She admitted to being scared. "I had no money. I barely knew what I was doing. And I was alone. Everyone said it would be okay. But they weren't the ones getting up at 3 a.m. or working double shifts, hoping my mother wouldn't evict me," she added gently. "Did she?" I inquired. She shook her head. "No, but she threatened to. Often." I commented that I had disgraced the family. They said I had ruined my life. She gazed into her coffee and seemed to agree, maybe in some aspects. Leaning forward, I said, "Yet you managed to raise an exceptional child all by yourself?" She replied with a smile, "He's my entire universe. He always has been." Her gaze intensified as she continued, "This is why I enrolled him at your gym. It was not just about teaching him to fight. I wanted him to have a respectable figure to emulate. This caught me off guard, and it impacted more than I had anticipated." She observed my reaction and added, "I don't intend to put anyone under pressure. I merely... I've always remembered you as one of the decent ones. Even back then, you never ridiculed or spoke negatively about others. You simply did your job and moved on." "I was just trying to get through high school like everyone else," I replied. "Thank you. This means a lot." She scrutinized me for a while before asking, "Jake, have you ever pondered starting a family?" After a moment's pause, I responded, "Yes, but life took an unexpected turn. One day turned into a year, then 5, then 10, all of a sudden. It's only you, your dog, and a punching bag." She chuckled gently. "You still have some time left." I glanced out of the window. Time isn't what worries me. I'm unsure if I ever encountered the right person. There was a pause between us. It wasn't awkward, It was authentic. Then she spoke unexpectedly. I once thought you were the right person. I turned to face her. She smiled again, not in jest this time. It wasn't a joke. It was sincere and unassuming. I hadn't realized that, I replied. I understood. She responded, you had no idea. You were caught up in sports and girls who didn't even know my name. I didn't mean to dismiss you. I'm being serious now. I see it. That's not the reason I'm telling you this. She took a sip of coffee. Then she continued, I'm just saying, life can be funny. You think something is lost forever, only for it to resurface years later wearing a gym hoodie. This made me laugh. Ah, so you recall the hoodie, I said. Yes, I do. You wore it every day during our senior year. Our conversation was as natural as putting on armor. We talked for another hour about our parents, the town, and the peculiar fact that several acquaintances had disappeared or moved. It all flowed effortlessly, like we'd just picked up after 20 years instead of catching up. She eventually checked her watch. I need to go home. My son has homework, and I promised to help. We stood up. Instead of leaving immediately, she looked at me again. I didn't expect any of this, but I'm so glad we ran into each other. I concur, I replied, feeling more sincere than expected. She stepped towards me for a genuine hug, no hesitation. She smelled of clean laundry and cinnamon, comforting and genuine. As she pulled away, she said, Don't wait a week to text me this time. I won't. I watched her get into her car and drive off again. But this time, the silence felt less void. It had a welcoming ambiance. That night, I sat on my porch, my Duke napping at my feet, gazing out to the garden, contemplating. Perhaps life doesn't offer second chances randomly. Maybe it offers reminders instead. If fortunate, one gets to choose how to act upon them. After our second coffee, we'll connect. Events began to change subtly. No massive, dramatic alterations occurred. There were no passionate declarations. Instead, it was a gradual, quiet transformation, like water seeping through a crack in stone. This was natural. Melissa and I communicated more frequently, though not constantly. It became regular enough to become part of our daily routine. I hope your class with her goes smoothly in the morning, or it's just about cooking dinner for Evan. Wish me luck tonight. Occasionally, she would email images of their dog, asleep upside down on the couch. Once, she sent me a photo of a recipe she had attempted and written down. If warned, I wouldn't have burned it using a convection oven. Over the past few weeks, I've been smiling more than I have in years. She would drop by the gym every now and then. Typically, I pick up Evan, and she occasionally stayed a bit longer for chit-chat. We kept our conversations casual and adult-like when he was around. However, her gaze lingered on me, reflecting a familiarity that resonated with me as well. Following about 3 weeks, I extended an invitation for dinner. She hesitated initially, inquiring if I was sure. She hasn't eaten anything prepared by a man since 2006, she explained. This prompted laughter. It's just pasta, I assured her, adding that I had cereal on hand as a backup. That Friday evening, she showed up wearing a green sweater and pants, with her hair loose. She didn't seem out of place, but there was an air of renewal about her posture, suggesting she was revisiting a path she hadn't walked in a while. We dined on the back porch, and Duke seemed to have known her for years, staying by her side. She regaled me with tales from Evan's toddler days. He preferred sleeping with a spoon over a teddy bear, while he once attempted to flush a phone believing it housed a ghost, eliciting hearty laughter from me. She further probed into my personal life, not just my gym routine, which is seldom discussed. I disclosed details about the house, explaining how I established the garden with minimal knowledge, and showed her the modest tool she'd constructed during a summer heat wave due to lack of funds. Upon inspecting the yard, she asked if I had built everything. As she walked, I described each project, sharing that it served as an occupation when not teaching pupils proper punching techniques. "You're unlike who I anticipated," she said. "What do you mean?" I inquired. She smiled mysteriously, possibly suggesting she imagined me as a well-known city gym trainer. Nye responded, "I tried the urban lifestyle once, but it didn't suit me. I prefer tranquility over change. I find durability appealing." That evening, we remained outside till the air chilled. She tucked her arms within her sleeves and looked skyward. "Have you ever pondered about starting fresh?" she inquired. I returned her gaze. "Recently, I've been contemplating it more." She subtly nodded, held my gaze for a moment, then glanced away. There was an unspoken feeling, maybe unease or potential, yet we didn't probe further. A few days passed, and she phoned to extend an invitation for me to walk with her and Evan at the lake on Sunday. I wasn't certain if it was casual or a test. Regardless, I agreed. As usual, Evan began speaking softly. However, he soon delved into questions about pets kept in cages and my age when I started weightlifting. It felt natural. There was no forced interaction. Melissa simply watched quietly, smiling. I think it was the instant she understood that it could work, not only between us, but also with Evan. The week after, we met again. Then again. We never gave it a name, never needed to verbalize it. It just transpired. She dropped by post-work one day. I'd send her pictures of Duke in peculiar poses. We'd share dinner on the porch, with Evan joining us occasionally, but not every time. Slowly, something unfolded between us. One night, while we were cleaning up after a routine meal, she stood in the sink, drying a dish. I moved towards her at the counter, leaned against it, and commented, "You know, I've never truly done this before." She looked at me puzzled. "What have you done?" I asked, gesturing to us both. "This feels tranquil, effortless." She replied with a smile. "Neither have I." We stood there silent for a while, then I spoke up. "I suppose I've been waiting for something like this, unknowingly." She remained silent, just moved nearer and embraced me. A lengthy, steady hug. The kind that conveys volumes without uttering a word. And I returned the embrace, not as a teenager yearning for a spark, nor as someone longing for a fairy tale. A man found what he didn't know he wanted right in his kitchen, drying a dish. It was early spring when things started feeling real, but not sudden or dramatic. More like two people slowly constructing a bridge from opposite sides until they finally met without realizing it was connected. Melissa and I had re-established contact about 3 months ago. We hadn't spoken about it, but we saw each other weekly. She sometimes dropped by the gym with coffee or simply watched from afar while Evan trained. Duke loved her, and even the kids noticed something unusual. They teased me about my increased smiling, and they were right. One evening, after practice, Evan stayed back to help with cleanup. Nothing new, as he'd done it several times before. That night, he seemed preoccupied, and it was evident. He quietly wiped down the mirrors without uttering a word. Then, he posed a question to me. "Do you like my mom?" I hesitated before responding, unsure if it was a test or merely curiosity. Eventually, I answered truthfully, "Yes, I do. I really like her." He gave a slow nod, avoiding eye contact. "She's been in better spirits lately," I noticed. I didn't know what to say next, so I remained silent. Then he looked at me and said, "I'm all right with it." It affected me more than expected. I never wanted to impose myself. I hadn't foreseen being in such a situation where genuine feelings were growing not just for a woman, but also her son. "Thank you, Evan," I replied. It means a lot. He merely shrugged as if it was unimportant, but I knew better. Melissa returned a few days later for dinner. I prepared chicken, mashed potatoes, and slightly burned vegetables. She didn't voice any complaints. They said that gave the meal character. Following dinner, we, as usual, took our seats on the porch. She perched her feet on the railing with a mug of tea nearby. The wind was tranquil, and Duke lay peacefully by the door, snoring softly. It was then that I faced her and inquired, "Have you figured out something?" "What's up?" she replied. "I'm not going to hold back any longer." She looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Why are we still waiting for my life to start? For everything to fall into place? For someone to resolve all the problems? I've decided I won't wait anymore, because I believe I already possess what I was seeking." Her countenance eased. She regarded me with the same eyes she had when we met at the gym once more. However, this time, her gaze did not search or waver with uncertainty. It was full and present. She then said, "I've been feeling the same way for a while now. I thought perhaps this wasn't meant for me. Maybe it wasn't in the cards for me to experience this. But I chose to raise Evan, which required setting everything else aside, and I wouldn't change that decision. In certain moments, I've felt lonely. I know how isolating that can be," I acknowledged. She took hold of my hand. "Yet, when I'm with you, I don't feel lonely." We remained quiet for a while, enjoying the peacefulness. Later, she presented me with a small box, just books and some garments. She was keeping them here temporarily since her apartment was being renovated. I didn't ask for more details. It wasn't necessary. It was evident that she was growing accustomed to the idea of being home, and I was content with that. Evan started referring to Duke as our dog. He would occasionally stay over after training sessions, lounging on the couch. He shared topics he wouldn't discuss with his mother. I didn't strive to be his father. That wasn't the objective. But I made an effort to be there, to be present, to listen. Over time, things gradually took shape and solidified. Melissa began spending most nights here. We divided the groceries, transformed the spare room into an office for her, began planting a new line of flowers outside. On a Sunday afternoon, we traveled 2 hours to a lake just to watch the sunset. There was no schedule, no pressure, just the three of us and a cooler filled with sandwiches. It wasn't perfect. Life seldom is. We had petty disagreements over dishes, schedules, and noise levels. Yet these seemed insignificant, more like arguments people have when they're truly in a relationship. One evening, I stood in the kitchen while Melissa and Evan laughed at a film they played back and forth. And then it struck me, this wasn't a new life, but the one I had been building unknowingly, brick by brick, punch by punch, calm night on the porch by calm night on the porch. Now, someone is sharing this life with me, not to repair it or save me, but to live it together. Melissa and I have not officially married yet. There was no significant decision or dramatic shift. Instead, we simply discussed things during an evening walk and reached an agreement. This place feels like home for us both, and that was enough. Thus, he introduced me to his mother, who seemed to recognize me as if we had met before. It turns out we had, and this time, we decided to stay.